A lot of things make Resident Evil special. The camera angles, the sound design, the voice acting, and the just general feel of it all. Something abstract you can't quite define, but something that must just be the result of a lot of awesome game design coming together. Save rooms. I used to call them safe rooms, but that's besides the point. These are the rooms in which, surprisingly enough, you save the game. But you knew that for sure, so what am I talking about? Well, sit back, relax, and grab an ink ribbon. This video is mostly focusing on the first game, but not without references to other great entries. Again, it's that feel. The game is tense all the way through, and the music and general spookiness is always beating at your brain like a hungry zombie behind a window, or I guess a door. Then, voila! After a nice scary prologue of, well, zombies, surprisingly enough, you approach a door, open it gruelingly slowly in true Resident Evil fashion, and boom, save room. Straight away, you notice that the music is very different. It's nice, it's slow and smooth, and it's like a peaceful arpeggio. You could almost fall asleep to it. Some have, not mentioning any names. But there's something about the atmosphere here. That's what stands out. It's such a slow, warm, and peaceful song, but it's also not. Now, I don't know if it's the whirring sound in the background, which, if you're insecure enough, could sound like distant screams or screeches from within. You know, the kind you get when you eat that last spoon of Ben & Jerry's, or, on a more serious note, the kind you get when you're okay, but something just isn't right. Here's a fun question. Do you ever truly feel safe in those rooms? It's definitely a more subjective thing, but I never did. Now, I know I probably am, but what if I'm like the first person ever out of millions to experience a rare event in which Mr. X comes from the next game, smashes the door down and crushes me? I don't get that feeling with many games, and I know it's done on purpose, masterfully so. They managed to create the perfect soundtrack to insecurity or anxiety, or damn near to it. This is even worse in the third game, when you're 1000% certain the more tense music is hinting at a surprise appearance from everyone's favorite nemesis. Nemesis. I also love the way that the Resident Evil 1 music has a sort of momentum to it. It picks up and slows down like you're being lifted up and then let down or dropped. Or like you've just entered a safe haven, but you know it can only be temporary. You can't stay forever, and the worst of the mansion is likely still to come. It's a shame then that most of the newer games abandon this type of saving, opting for the more industry standard types, keeping up with newer expectations. However, they too have had some marvelous music. A personal favourite of mine is number 5's shop or item select music, and I guess the memories I associate with it. And while we're on the subject, it's great to see that Resident Evil 7 has changed the saving to the more traditional method once again, along with save rooms of its own. Looking at 7 and Resident Evil 2's remake, I can confidently say that I think the series is once again going in the right, or at least a better direction. 5 and 6 didn't really scare me at all, although I'm not really sure if they intended to. However, 7 does an excellent job at returning us to the uneasy, uncertain and tense roots of the series. That can't be done without sound and music design. The feeling of relief you get from these rooms after any sort of chase is really something to remember. It's the memories that stick with you long after you've finished a game, and that's another example of how something so small can affect the fidelity of the world and the immersion we feel when we plug into these terrifying masterpieces of games. Zombies have never scared me, but Resident Evil? It's almost an unmatched feeling of unease from start to finish. And that's all from me today. I wanted to make some Resident Evil videos, but I never really knew where to start. This, however, I definitely had to talk about. The game's soundtrack is already iconic, but the save room music is the stuff I love the most. The atmosphere in these games is just perfect. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Expect more Resident Evil, but also videos about other games we love.